Lord, I praise your name. And I thank you, Lord, for guiding and blessing this reflection for today. Good morning and welcome to our Sunday live webinar, our thought for today. And it's good to welcome our dear sister Magdalena, who's joined us this morning. And it's also good to welcome at this unearthly hour from Houston in Texas, our dear brother Alan. Welcome, Alan, and pray you're well and you're looking after those two beautiful little doggies. So let us be still and just center ourselves so that we can receive whatever spirit wants to share with your heart. But first, I'm having a little drop of honey. Our reflection today is 1, not 2. And good morning, Timo and Nikok. Lovely to have you with us, dear brother. Our reflection is from You Are the Beloved by the late Henry J.M. Newven. And the theme he's chosen for this morning is Solitude Makes Real Friendship Possible. That's an interesting theme for a reflection, especially when you live in this beautiful world where so many, even in the monastery, not me because I don't use the mobile phone, I won't. It's bad enough having to go live 3 times a day. They're just addicted to their iPhone. Wherever you go, they've got it to their ear or they're busy fingering. And I've banned them at the table here in the monastery because they're rude. It's an infringement on privacy and conversation. It's a killer. So this is what Henry says. By slowly converting our loneliness into a deep solitude, we create that precious space where we can discover the voice telling us about our inner necessity. That is our vocation in life. But are we willing to listen? Are we willing to discern? Or are we too busy? Let's read on. Unless our questions, problems, and concerns are tested and matured in solitude, it is not realistic to expect answers that are really our own. This is a very difficult task because in our world, we are constantly pulled away from our innermost self and encouraged to look for answers instead of listening to the questions. A lonely person has no inner time or inner rest to wait or listen. He wants answers and he wants them here and now, a bit like shopping in Walmart. You want everything yesterday. And if the item is out of stock, you go ballistic. Why? It could be a tin of beans. I've seen it in the aisles in Asda that's owned by Walmart, doing the shop for the community. And it's hilarious. It's an eye-opener. But in solitude, we can pay attention to the inner self. We can hear that inner voice. And that inner voice is not our ego. It is the divine speaking to our heart, the gateway to our soul. And our soul is the gateway to God, to nirvana, to life everlasting. This has nothing to do with ecocentrism or unhealthy introspection, because in the words of Rainier Maria Rilke, what is going on in your innermost being is worthy of your whole love. In solitude, we can become present to ourselves. Yes, we can. But how many today want to sit and to be still without the TV or the radio blasting, or fingering on the mobile phone, sending a text to someone you've just seen? I believe that silence that leads to solitude is the language of God's love for the heart. I've digressed. In solitude, we can become present to ourselves. There, we can also become present to others by reaching out to them, not greedy for attention and affection, but offering our own selves to help build a community of love. How encouraging. Solitude does not pull us away from our fellow human beings, but instead makes our fellowship possible. It really does. And it's interesting, when you make time to be still and center yourself in a safe place where you live, and put a do not disturb sign on your door like you would in a motel, and switch off all your electrical appliances, your phone, your mobile, and give yourself permission to relax your mind, your body, and your spirit. But that seems like a lot of hard work today for a lot of people working and living in the fast lane. That's why I'm so thankful that my career as a nurse in palliative care ended 20 years ago. And I'm classed as officially retired at 70 years of age, but I'm working as hard now as I did then. But nobody owns me, whereas in employment, I was owned by an employer, whereas my employer now gives an amazing job description and is a fair employer, and that is Christ. Today, we really do have to take stock. We really do have to learn to come back to our heart, our teacher, and embrace silence, not as something to be frightened of, but something to embrace. For example, I'm sat here, I've opened the office door, and I can hear the waters trickling down the water features in the monastery garden. I can hear the birds singing in the distance, and I can hear Teresa the hen clucking, laying us some lovely eggs for breakfast. And you only hear those sounds when you make time to be still. And we have a duty of care, not only to our mind, to keep it active, and not to get confused and forgetful, and not only to our body to make sure we eat a healthy diet and drink plenty of fluids, and not always alcohol. But what about our spirit? We live to a 24-hour clock. So if you divide the 3 rooms into 24, you get 8 hours allocated per room, in theory. But I ask you a simple question. When was it last that you spent time in your spirit room and nurtured a conversation with your God? And you know, silence and solitude isn't just for people like me who lives the monastic life as a contemplative monk. Silence and solitude is for everybody, so that we have wellness and wholeness of mind, body, and spirit. And if you're willing to trust me, and I pray you do, listen to your heart, to that still voice. It is a voice that won't put you down, like your ego, that you're not good enough, your false self that needs the adulation of people, or you need to rescue others to fill that void in your life where you've been probably traumatized or hurt in a relationship. But if you're willing to trust that inner voice, it's a voice of love. It's an affirming voice. And it never, ever puts you down. How strange that I spent many years as a young nursing monk, and I never ever felt good enough for God because of the religious programming of the mind. You were a thing, a number, not a human being. Prisoners had a much better life than we did in the monastery then. But today, a lot of monastics are losing their way. They're allowing materialism come into God's space. They're not listening, they're too busy chatting and falling out. If you truly want to be of service to God in the world, you can be, by being true to your heart, by taking back your power from those who've deceived you, who put you down, who leave you feeling worthless. Take back your power and reclaim your divinity as a co-creator of God. I'm not asking you to become a holy Joe. I'm asking you to become real, and to live this life, to enjoy this life, because God gave you this life to be happy and to appreciate nature, creation, the animal kingdom. That's one of the blessings of living here in the country, in a rural community where we're surrounded by farms. And any day now we will hear the bleating of little lambs. And I just go gaga. I just stand there admiring the little things. And I want to gamble with them. And as a Franciscan, that's why I love creation, like Francis of Assisi. He found his God in nature, not in a basilica, heavily ornate with gold and frescoes. And that's why he did not want to be ordained a priest. He wanted to remain a solitary, living in a cave, because he felt comfortable with the animal kingdom and they loved him. As I love our animals here, we don't go asking for pets. They find us and we give them a loving home and they sit with us in prayer, although Brother Sid and Brother Louis have no monastic manners, but we love them. And they do lead you close to God when you see them asleep and in stillness. They have that air about them. Animals are great little teachers, but so many people today are frightened of them. Well, let's be still and reflect. Solitude makes real friendship possible. Well, I'm going to ask the Lord our God to speak to your heart and explain how you can achieve solitude today by switching off your mind and all the nonsense, the fear, the stress, the worry, the sadness, and experience the words of the Christ. Taste and see that the Lord is good. For the joy of the Lord is our strength. And if you're troubled in mind or body or spirit, ask to have a conversation with Christ. Don't sit waiting around hoping that he'll knock on your door and say, hello, it's me, are you in? He gave you a gift of free will. And you have to use that gift and get off your butt and ask for divine help. As I do every day. Some days are better than others. Some days I struggle with severe depression. And some days I struggle to walk. But hey, I don't let it beat me. I just give it to God as a prayer. And try and find some me time. And get out with the rescue hens and the doves. And let them bring some love back into my heart. And you soon forget about me. You begin to have a conversation with God in nature. And that's where I find fulfillment. And that's where, being honest, I feel the most safest. People have a habit of hurting you. Animals have a habit of making you feel safe and loved. God's little creatures. Make time today to switch off your gadgets and ask your God to have a conversation with you and be blown away truly by that inner voice, a voice that will love you, caress you, empower you to take back that feel-good factor that in the eyes of God you are loved. And God isn't asking you to convert to a religion. God is inviting you to embrace something much bigger and richer and more fulfilling, to embrace the divine in yourself and all around you, and be free. Thank you for joining me. And tomorrow I'm back at 10 o'clock. It's just that I have church commitments where I leave here in the next 15 minutes to join with Brother Rob for a service in the neighboring town, which is 14 miles away. But it's been a joy having you with me. I pray that whatever my heart is shared with your heart, that it resonates. Till we meet again. Namaste, shalom. Inshallah, pax et bonum om shanti. Solo di caritas. Salam alaikum. And may the peace of a God of peace empower you now. Come home to who you are, a child that is loved. God bless you, and to all you early risers and late sleepers across the pond, thank you so much for getting up so early. Bless you. Take care. Amen.